Imagine a world without written language, without books, without modern technology yet, filled with music. For 1,000 years ago, civilizations played melodies on clay whistles, pounded rhythms on drums, and strummed strings on harps carved from wood and bone. These sounds carried joy, rituals, and secrets across time. Today, we unlock the forgotten music of the ancient world and discover how sound shaped the soul of humanity. When we think of ancient civilizations, we imagine bricks, temples, and kings, but hidden within their ruins are instruments, the echoes of music that once filled their lives. The Indus Valley, Mesopotamia, Egypt, Greece all created sounds that shaped celebrations, rituals, and daily life. Children blew into bird-shaped whistles, priests beat sacred drums, and storytellers strummed harps under starlit skies. Music was more than entertainment, it was memory, prayer, and power. It carried stories when words were few, it united communities when voices were many, and it touched the soul in ways we still feel today. In this journey, we rediscover the secret music of the ancient world. Archaeologists have uncovered tiny whistles shaped like birds from the Indus Valley and Mesopotamia. These whistles, made of terracotta, produced high-pitched sounds that carried across streets. Imagine children running through narrow alleys, blowing whistles, shaped like sparrows and doves, their laughter blending with sharp notes. But these whistles were not just toys, they may have been used in rituals, imitating the call of sacred birds. Through their sound, the ancients spoke to nature itself. Visual prompt: Indus Valley children blowing bird-shaped clay whistles in sunlit street, elders watching, sparrows flying overhead, ultra-realistic cinematic detail, no text. Drums were the heartbeat of every civilization. Made from wood and animal skin, they echoed during rituals, harvest festivals, and battles. Imagine a group of drummers in Mesopotamia, pounding rhythms that shook the ground, calling farmers from fields to gather. In the city square, for children, the beat of drums was the pulse of life, sometimes playful, sometimes sacred, always powerful. These rhythms connected the human body to the earth beneath. In temples of Mesopotamia and Egypt, harps were played for kings and gods. These harps, tall and beautifully carved, produced melodies that carried through stone halls. Picture a priest kneeling before a golden idol, a harpist plucking strings as chants rise in the background. For children watching, the harp was magical. It sounded like the voice of the divine. To hear a harp was to feel closer to heaven. Before written words, music carried messages. Farmers may have used whistles to call animals, while drums signaled gatherings or warnings. Imagine a mother whistling across a courtyard to call her children for food, or a drumbeat echoing at night to warn of danger. Music was language, simple, powerful, and understood by all. For children, these sounds were woven into daily life, as common as the air they breathed. Not all music was sacred or serious. Children created their own rhythms by clapping, tapping clay pots, or blowing into small flutes made of reed. Picture a group of children sitting in a circle, drumming on pots, laughing as they make a song out of chaos. Their music may not have been written in notes, but it carried the joy of being alive. In these simple rhythms, the spirit of childhood has survived for thousands of years. In ancient villages, drums were not only for rituals but also for celebrations. Weddings, harvest festivals, and victories were announced with powerful beats that filled the air. Imagine torches lighting up a crowded square, dancers moving in rhythm as drummers strike. Louder and faster, their hands moving like fire. Children clapped along, their tiny feet stamping on the ground, learning that joy was always shared in rhythm. Drums gave the people of ancient civilizations a way to celebrate life itself. The harp became a symbol of elegance and power. In Mesopotamian and Egyptian courts, musicians played soft harp melodies as kings dined or rested. Imagine a grand hall lit with oil lamps, the king reclining on cushions while a harpist plucks gentle notes, each sound filling the silence with beauty. Children of nobles sitting nearby listened in awe, realizing that music was as much a part of royalty as gold and jewels. For the powerful, harps were voices of refinement. Whistles shaped like birds were not only toys, they may have been tools. Shepherds and farmers could have used them to guide animals or mimic bird calls. Picture a young boy in a wide field, whistling into a clay flute, sheep turning their heads as if understanding. These simple sounds bridged the gap between humans and nature. For children, it was both play and practice, turning a toy into a skill for survival. In temples and shrines, music created sacred atmospheres. Priests used drums, flutes, and harps during offerings, believing sound carried prayers to the gods. Imagine the slow, heavy beat of a drum echoing inside stone walls, while a flute plays soft notes that rise with incense. Smoke. Children stood at the edges, wide-eyed, feeling the power of music that turned ritual into an otherworldly experience. Music was not only heard, it was believed. Even in ancient times, mothers sang their children to sleep. Lullabies may not have been written, but their melodies were timeless, soft, repetitive tunes hummed as children drifted off on mats of reed. Imagine a mother rocking her baby in the dim glow of a clay lamp, her voice gentle, the hum blending with the night's silence. These lullabies carried love across generations, proving that music's first purpose was comfort. Music was not only for play or ritual, it helped in labor. Farmers sang simple chants as they sowed seeds, fishermen hummed tunes while pulling nets, and builders tapped rhythmic beats on stone. Imagine workers lifting heavy blocks in unison to the steady beat of a drum, their voices rising together in harmony. Children listened, learning the rhythm of work as part of daily life. Music gave strength to tired bodies and turned labor into something shared and bearable. Children themselves were part of music making. They banged on clay pots, clapped hands, and learned to play simple flutes. Picture a group of young boys and girls sitting on the ground, practicing on small reed flutes, their uneven notes turning into playful songs. These were the first music lessons of humanity, children learning sound by experimenting, guided not by teachers but by curiosity. In their laughter, the roots of music education were born. Storytellers used music to bring tales alive. Harps and flutes played while legends of gods and heroes were told to gathered crowds. Imagine a traveling bard standing before villagers, plucking a harp while speaking of kings and battles, children leaning forward wide-eyed. Music added color to words, turning simple stories into unforgettable performances. For ancient children, these songs were the first theater memories carved in rhythm and melody. Ancient people believed music had the power to heal. Soft harp notes were thought to calm spirits, while steady drumbeats could drive away illness or bad omens. Picture a sick child lying on a reed mat as a healer plays a slow flute nearby, family members praying. The sound blended with belief, giving comfort and hope. Even if medicine was scarce, music became its own form of healing. At night, villages sometimes gathered under the open sky for music. Families sat on the ground, children on their parents' laps, while drums, whistles, and harps played together. Imagine the Milky Way stretching above, firelight flickering, and music carrying into the cool night air. These nights were moments of unity, music binding people not only to each other, but also to the cosmos. For children, the memory of those starry songs must have stayed forever. Music was also used to prepare for battle. Before armies marched, drums thundered across the land, filling soldiers with courage and striking fear into enemies. Imagine a line of warriors tightening their armor while huge drums beat like rolling thunder. Children watching from rooftops felt both awe and fear. The sound was bigger than life, echoing like the heart of the earth. In those moments, drums were not entertainment, they were weapons of spirit. While drums shook the ground, harps lifted the soul. In ceremonies, births, marriages, coronations, harps played to mark sacred moments. Picture a bride walking through a torch-lit courtyard, harpists plucking sweet notes as guests look on in reverence. For children watching, these songs were linked to life's biggest milestones. The harp became a sound of beginnings, gentle music that framed the rhythm of destiny. Whistles also found their place in the hunt. Hunters mimicked bird calls to lure prey, while children learned by blowing their own clay whistles. Imagine a father crouched behind tall grass, whistling softly as birds turn their heads, while his son watches and learns. These whistles taught survival, blurring the line between music, imitation, and skill. To a child, every whistle was both play and preparation for the challenges of adulthood. Every civilization shaped its identity through sound. The Indus Valley had whistles and drums, Mesopotamia had harps, Egypt had flutes, Greece had lyres. To children, these instruments defined who they were. Imagine a boy in Harappa tapping on a clay pot while a boy in Mesopotamia strums a harp, different notes, same joy. Music became a signature of culture, telling outsiders, this is who we are. children have always turned sound into imagination. A clay whistle became a bird's song, a pot became a drum, a string became magic. Picture children inventing their own instruments, from sticks and reeds, creating music that no adult taught them. These songs were not written in history, yet they shaped the spirit of the next generation. The secret music of ancient civilizations lived not only in temples and palaces but also in the laughter of children. Festivals in ancient civilizations were incomplete without music. Whistles called people to gather, drums created energy, and harps filled the air with melody. Imagine an Indus Valley courtyard decorated with clay lamps, children dancing in circles as drummers beat rhythm, while harpists play in the background. Music turned festivals into memories that lasted for generations. For children, it was the sound of joy, the echo of community, and the heartbeat of celebration. Some instruments were believed to carry sacred power. The deep beat of a drum could summon spirits, while the soft strum of a harp could invite blessings. Imagine a priest raising a drum in a temple ceremony, every beat echoing like thunder through the stone walls, while children pressed their ears to the ground, feeling vibrations. Music was not entertainment, it was divine language, a bridge between humans and gods. For ancient people, music was memory. A song could remind them of harvest, of battles, of lost loved ones. Picture an old man sitting by a fire, plucking a simple harp while children gather around him, his song telling of times long past. These melodies were living, history unwritten, but remembered through sound. For children, music was the way they inherited the memories of their ancestors. Different civilizations spoke different tongues, but music was universal. A drumbeat in Egypt could be understood in Mesopotamia, just as a whistle in the Indus Valley echoed the same. Joy found in Greece. Imagine merchants from faraway lands playing instruments together at a caravan stop, their children joining in, laughing as sounds merge. Music proved that even when words failed, rhythm and melody could unite strangers as one. Today, the instruments lie broken in museums, their strings long gone, their clay cracked. The ruins of Mohenjo-Daro, Ur, and Thebes are silent. But if you listen closely, you can almost imagine the sounds of whistles, drums, and harps filling the air once more. Children laughing, priests chanting, dancers moving the music of a world that has vanished, but not truly died. Its echo still vibrates in our imagination. Music was passed down not through books, but through listening and imitation. Children sat beside elders, watching their hands on flutes, their fingers on harps, their palms on drums. Imagine a father placing a small drum in his son's lap, guiding his rhythm, while a mother hums softly to teach her daughter a melody. These lessons were not classrooms, they were moments of family, tradition, and memory. Music was taught by heart and carried in blood. What made ancient music unique was that it belonged to all. Kings listened to harps in golden halls, but commoners also drummed on clay pots in dusty streets. A noble child's lullaby and a farmer's work song carried the same love and hope. Imagine a marketplace where merchants sing chants while selling goods, and children mimic them with whistles. Music erased boundaries, everyone had a rhythm to share. Though we have found instruments, the melodies themselves are gone. No one knows the exact notes of an Indus Valley whistle or a Mesopotamian harp. Imagine holding a 4,000-year-old harp in your hands, wondering what songs once flowed from its strings. The silence is haunting, but also beautiful. It invites us to imagine, to dream, to listen with our hearts. The lost songs remain mysteries, but their spirit is eternal. Even though the ancient songs are lost, their echoes live on. The steady drumbeat survives. In every modern rhythm, the flute's call in every folk tune, the harp's chords in today's stringed instruments. Imagine a modern child playing guitar, not knowing he is continuing a tradition older than history itself. Ancient music never died, it transformed, surviving in every note we hear today. In the end, the secret of ancient music is simple. It was never about perfection. It was about connection between people, between humans and nature, between earth and heaven. Whether it was a child blowing a clay whistle or a priest strumming a harp for the gods, music was the language of the soul, and it still is today. The forgotten music of whistles, drums, and harps tells us that sound is older than history. Civilizations may rise and fall, temples may crumble, and instruments may break, but music always survives. For 1,000 years ago, children laughed as they blew clay whistles, families celebrated to the beat of drums, and kings prayed to the sound of harps. Today, when we sing, play, or listen, we are not only making music, we are continuing their story. Because music, the truest language of humanity, never dies.